the conversation. So welcome everybody to our new Canadian speaker series. This is a new initiative by Women Mining Canada this year. So we're very excited to be here with Anna Ivanova today. You will have the opportunity to ask questions throughout the conversation. You can either send them in the chat, you can send them in the Q&A, or you can send them in the chat directly to me if you don't want to have them be seen by everybody. And if they happen throughout the conversation, we'll try our best to integrate it into the conversation. So without further ado, because you're all here to see Anna speak, I will let Anna introduce herself a little bit and then we'll get started.
Hi, everybody. So thank you for having me, Women in Mining, and Melanie. It's an interesting experience for me. So my name is Anna Ivanova. I have been born and raised in Sofia, Bulgaria. I started my journey with Dundee in 2005 when I worked for the Chelopech mine in Bulgaria. And then as part of my work with Dundee, I relocated in Toronto in 2019, leading a company-wide initiative. So expanding my professional career, but also I'm now living in Canada and it's a new chapter of my life, basically being in Canada. So that's with 2 words.
Great. And so if we can start, maybe can you walk us through your career so far from like your education up until now and how you got there?
So by education, like I've graduated university finance in Bulgaria. Then I've done an executive MBA again in Bulgaria and the American University, which exposed me to the style of teaching here. I've started my work experiences like in the pharma business, in finance, from accounting to finance leadership roles. And then in 2005, I joined Dundee at the Chelopech mine site, as I mentioned. Like it allowed me to be part of different activities through my journey with Dundee, which, as we can see, is 20 years. I've worked on management systems. I have been introducing internal controls over financial reporting, which gave me the opportunity to work with all the sites. And I've been working on one big initiative in Chelopech where we expanded the production, the mine improvement program. And this is where my journey started on implementing and designing management systems, where we designed the management operating model. In 2011, transitioned to a corporate role, still based in Bulgaria, where I focused more on enterprise performance management, on business transformation. And it gave me the opportunity to work with all the sites. So I've been to Armenia, I've been to Namibia, I've been to Bulgaria, the 2 mine sites, and I've been to corporate. So I've been part of different projects like working with finance, with supply chain, and with operations. And then in 2018, we started another big initiative, changing the business planning system, budgeting and forecasting. And when finishing this in 2019, like as part of this, basically in 2019, I had the opportunity to move to Canada because of the size of the initiatives and the focus of the work. So this is how I ended up in Toronto. And continue working in my role, like finish that implementation, then took another implementation, changing the accounting system. And today I'm really focused on maintaining the business routines calendar, the balance scorecard for the system company performance. And it has been a continual learning for me. And I'm really passionate about what I do, like working with people, empowering people to drive meaningful change. So that's what I am.
Thank you for that. Really great overview. And you mentioned that you have a background in finance. So how did you end up in mining? Was it something you were always interested in? Were you recruited? Was it just happened to find a job and then you ended up liking it, so you stayed? How did that happen?
So I selected Chelopech because it was like I was at the stage where I decided to change my work. And there were different opportunities, but Chelopech was an operating site, and I wanted to work with operations. Working in an office is one thing, even for finance, but being with the operation, I thought that at that stage was a great opportunity for me. In Bulgaria, Dundee is a well-known company, so it's an international company, which also like gave me the confidence that it's a reliable employer. So that's how I ended up by living in Sofia and working in Sofia to living in Sofia and commuting to Chelopech mine site every day. So
And
and
um,
finance after that, with finance, I was working with finance, but working with the mine site, I got a lot of opportunities to work with management, as I said, reporting, different systems, and mining fascinated me with the opportunity. So that's how I ended up staying with mining.
well, we're glad to have you in the industry. And so you said you went from operations at Dundee to corporate in Bulgaria, and then you switched over to Canada. How was that process? Was it something you were actively trying to do, or did an opportunity with Dundee come up that they were like, you would be really great for this, so do you want to move to Canada?
Honestly saying, I moved to Canada with Dundee. Like if you ask me like 8 years ago, like where I'd be living, I'll tell you no, Bulgaria, I love it. Like we're in the middle of Europe, easy to travel. Like I had a nice job, great company. So I think the working on the project with Dundee and really expanding my opportunities, like from to be driving more meaningful change, that's what brought me to Canada. And that's what gave me the confidence to move. And moving to Canada, we should say moving to Toronto, because like we need to be clear, Canada is quite big country with, and I think every province and every city is different. So yeah, moved to Toronto with Dundee, and I moved here because of Dundee, as I felt the support and the confidence, and I knew the people.
And before we go into the support that you got by relocating with a company, how was it bringing it up with your family? And how was that decision made as a family to actually move to a different continent, not just a different country, a whole different continent?
I'm lucky that I always had the support from my family. So like we discussed it, like I didn't inform them that I'm moving. So we discussed it. For my daughter, it was a bigger change as she moved at the beginning of high school. It was hard for her in the beginning. Now, like years later, she actually appreciates the opportunity. So we took it more as a challenge and as something to experience, like moving to another continent gives you different perspective. You know, you think you know everything, you feel confident, and it's kind of it gives you new experiences. We love to travel. We travel a lot, but as we all know, traveling as a tourist is totally different experiences than living somewhere. So we just decided that it's something which is worth to experience, and we moved.
And speaking of that experience, what was the biggest like culture shock or the biggest thing that surprised you when you ended up making that move?
We all think that Canada and Bulgaria have 4 seasons. No, Canada has a winter which is 2 months longer, which I knew, but still like living here is different. Toronto is very multicultural. And as much as you see it living, it gives opportunities because you see variety, but also it brings its own challenges. You know, like even the language you speak, English is my second language. I know that I say Toronto, I don't say Toronto, but still like the understanding, it's that's one of the challenges. Like it's the diversity is a challenge and an opportunity. Distances here, massive. Like it's kind of like in Bulgaria to travel for work for more than an hour. It's a challenge here when you commute for an hour. Oh, it's nice commute. It's reasonable, and everything should be planned. You know, you can't spontaneously to do things. It's a little bit harder because things are organized.
It's true. It is pretty common to say that Canadians don't measure distance by actual distance. We measure it by time and how long it actually takes to get there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, traffic jams are big. And the other thing is probably it's worth to mention, like moving here. You feel, at least for me, I moved like not when I was 20. I felt comfortable. Like, you know, you flow, you have your contacts, you have your systems. While moving here, you need to build new things from scratch, like getting a driving license. I had 20 years of experience. Like, why they'll test me how I drive? So getting a new dentist, going to the doctor and explaining your pain, not in your language. Sometimes like I have fun with this because I feel I know English, but no, I don't know English to explain what pain I have. So I think these things where you need to do from start, it is a challenge, but I think also an opportunity and you see the things differently.
And did Dundee kind of provide a sort of support network
Yes.
for you when you moved, or did you
Yeah.
have to
So
build another one?
actually, I've been traveling to Canada like before moving, so I had some people whom I know with Dundee and not with Dundee, but I got very good support from Dundee on the whole relocation process, like from the informations, from the steps in the process, from what to expect and etc. So I had that transition support, and I had knowing people, it allowed me to talk. So even if something wasn't clear, I was quite lucky to have that support and to have the answers. And calling friends like where I can buy Bulgarian cheese from, I got the answer immediately. So it's I was like fortunate to have the ability to have the support. Still, you go through the challenge, but you have whom to call.
And I'm assuming you're not the first one that did the transition from Bulgaria to Toronto for Dundee, or were you the first one?
There
Yeah.
are a
Okay.
couple of
So,
other colleagues, yes,
yeah, that
which
must
was
have been
also
incredible.
helpful.
Yeah. Great. So I'm going to go back into my list of questions and ask what is the main difference you've seen between working in Bulgaria and working in Canada? Is it more of a cultural thing? Is it more of a like corporate style? What's the biggest difference?
I think the big difference is like at Toronto, we have the corporate office, and working in a corporate office is different than working at operations. Like a corporate office is very driven by quarterly reporting, external reporting, quality operations, like people are managing shift and day. So that's the dynamic is a little bit different. And corporate office is a little bit more like corporate, let's say. So it's the communication style is a little bit different. And one thing what's different between, I don't know if it's corporate and operations or Bulgaria and Canada, but in Bulgaria, we're like much more direct. So if I'm not happy with what you've done, basically you hear it immediately. While here it's a little bit different. Like you still can convey the message, but you need to do it in a right way so you don't stress the person, like you don't hurt the person, which with English as a second language, sometimes it's hard because the subtleties of the language are like harder to manage, but it's like I was taking it more as an experience and a challenge than negative. So that's the thing. And then of course, like as I said, commuting it's different. Like there I was like everywhere driving and etc. While here it's a little bit I rely on the GO train, which is like giving different schedule in your career. Yes.
Yeah, and I like what you said about being direct. It actually came up in the conversation between Chloe and Sakai yesterday as well, where they were saying, and where they were from, you're just very direct. And here they thought it was a suggestion. So they got in trouble for not doing what was not really a suggestion. So yeah, I don't think that's a corporate versus site thing. I think that's
Yeah.
a
And
Canada versus Bulgaria thing.
And then
Yeah.
when you get feedback here, like I have fun with my colleagues here. I say, please be Bulgarian because they give you feedback and it's positive, positive. And what you need to improve is at the end. But I stopped listening after the fifth minute, or with the English, I missed the subtle advice. So yes.
Yeah, start with the important things, right? Yeah. Great.
And one
And
thing for
yep.
us, just for all Bulgarians, which we say when we agree, we say yes. And when we disagree, we say no. So, like as you can see, I'm a very articulative. So it's one thing what everybody who goes to Bulgaria say, please, like, don't look at how people move their heads, like ask yes or no, because it might be definitely confusing.
Yeah. And maybe, do you have any other advice for people from Bulgaria who want to move to Canada or maybe from somewhere else from your own experience?
For me, have realistic expectations. Like every country has his positives and it's like things which you wouldn't like. Being practical about what you expect. Be ready to expect the unexpected. You may have a plan how you want to go through the things. Give yourself a chance to understand how the system works. Here, the system works in a specific way. Sometimes you feel that it's slow, but it works. So you need to, my advice to people, like it's don't rush it. Be aware that it's different. Don't get frustrated quickly and follow the process. And people are generally tolerant, but also you need to be tolerant to them, like when they don't understand you, like repeat. And that's my advice. Like everywhere there are pluses and minuses, and you shouldn't be coming here with the expectation that everything is perfect because it's not practical. And enjoy the differences. Enjoy the fact that you can go around and eat Chinese food or Japanese food or Korean food, like whatever, like you have so many opportunities when you come here, which you may not use them, but they're there. So like give yourself a chance to see the new things.
Right, absolutely. And you said, trust the process might be a little bit slow, but it works. What was the process like from the time that it was like, please come to Canada for this job until you actually moved? How long was it? What was it like?
It was a couple of months. Actually, it was quite good. Because I got here with work permit. So the process of getting permanent residence is a longer process, which took longer than we expected. But COVID hit, so COVID didn't help. I think that's the other thing. Like, what was the system and the process before COVID and now? There are a lot of things which change. So it's very hard. Like even when I talk to people now, I said my experience because before COVID was this, but I don't know what would be the experience now. So the company was quite well organized. So it took like 3 or 4 months, as far as I remember. And then for the permanent resident, it took like more than a year because it was the submission, the waiting time, and you don't have the feedback. But yeah, I that's one of the things what I had Dundee behind me. So I was able to ask for advice and ask questions and etc. So I felt that I wouldn't be left alone, and which gives you a lot of confidence and ability to wait patiently. I think that's one of the privileges I had. I had the support, so I was able to wait because I knew that if something happens, we'll find a way.
Right. And was it like one resource person, let's say, that was assigned to you at Dundee, or was it
Yeah,
more like a group effort?
we no, it was one person. I had like the company had a relocation agent and the lawyer, so that's what I was like working. The people I was working with, and from HR, we're not a big company, so from HR I get continuous support also.
Great. Great. And oh, all right, let's go back into your career. What's been your favorite experience in your career so far?
The biggest I like my job, so I enjoy every experience. I think what I appreciate is when I see that with the work we've done with the changes, it has been successful and we have empowered the people who do the work day to day and they own it. So I think working with people, introducing new changes to people and making people own the change is for me the most satisfying work. Like it's all the changes, it ends up to the people. Yeah, and traveling, I like traveling, like being able to work with, as I said, Armenia, Namibia. Now we work with Ecuador, Serbia. It's really going and doing change, not visiting, but making the change with the people. It's quite fascinating and being able to represent the company. I think one of the things that gives me confidence is the fact that Dundee is a company with clear values, clear behaviors, and very nice attitude to people, focused on safety and sustainability. So when you go and work with people, it's very much aligned with my values. So it kind of gives me the opportunity to drive the change and to support the change and to see how people grow and develop. So that's very satisfying.
That's great. And I'm glad you found a place where you feel like it aligns with your value because I've heard from a lot of young people they're kind of struggling to find the right fit for them. So I'm really happy to hear that you found one for you. We also have a question from the audience. So the question is, Anna, what is your ultimate career aspiration here in Canada or back in Bulgaria?
My ultimate career aspiration is to continue playing a role where we operationalize a strategy and drive meaningful change. I don't know where is it. Like if you ask me, is it here in Bulgaria? I don't know. Like the world now, we are lucky nowadays because we can travel and we have a lot of opportunities. Like for me, when we lived before in the socialism, it was much harder to travel. So now, like I don't know. My answer is like for now, I see it in Canada with Dundee. I see it growing, and I'm very excited about the future of the company. And I see myself with Dundee in Canada. What can happen going forward? No one knows. Like too many opportunities, and the world is too big.
That's completely fair. And we got another one that came directly to me. So what does your husband do? Did he have a job when you moved, or did he find one afterwards? How does that work?
So my husband, he's dealing with sports, so he was quite busy in Bulgaria and he had his own business there. When we moved here, actually, he's currently not working. So he was like with the move, like I was the one who was working, while he's currently having quite a lot of activities, and I think that's one of the big things for us. He has a group, like he plays soccer quite a lot. Also, he's doing quite a lot of activities around like our family. So he's very busy, I would say, but he's currently not working. At our age, it's harder, and it's always to find balance, what works for the family. And for us, the decision currently is that he is not working. In future, you never know. Like he can coach, like he has the qualifications here to work here to coach. So I think I'm quite confident that if he decides he can pursue this. But for our situation at the moment, we he's not working.
And since we're on the topic of family, for your daughter, is she going to university? Is she at the university age? Is she going back to Bulgaria for that? Is she going to stay here?
S-
How's she
s-
feeling about it?
my daughter loves it here. Like she appreciates the opportunity. She loves Bulgaria, but also she thinks that Canada gave her a lot of opportunity because of the diversity. She just graduated college, and she's going to university to pursue her bachelor's this September. So she's in the system here, and she's thinking of finalizing her education here.
And I'm gonna go back to what you said at the very beginning of the conversation. You mentioned, you had somebody to call when you wanted Bulgarian cheese, for example. So how do you balance kind of integrating into a new society while maintaining like what you love about your own culture?
Uh, I have a friend who worked in Yellowknife. So when he was visiting us here, like because like he's coming to Toronto, he said that we live in paradise because we can find everything what we need. Like we are missing a couple of spices, so it's very easy to find what you need. And we day to day you have your routine, so they're fine. But we are experimenting different type of like cultures and food. Like we have friends from like different cultures, so we've tried all kind of different experiences, and we just build a little bit of here and there in our routine, and we enjoy the variety.
And I think I'm about to run out of questions, but my last big one before we move to audience questions is what is the biggest risk you've taken so far in your career? Was it moving? Was it switching over to mining? Or do you think the biggest risk is still to come because you're not sure what's coming up?
I think moving to Canada for us was a risk. You never know how it will go, like with the family, because if the family feels well, you feel well. I think that's very important that your universe should be balanced. So That was for me a big risk. Like the age I moved at the career at the place where I was, like moving to Canada was a risk because it might have worked, it might have not worked. So that's one of the things. Otherwise, I think moving to mining for me was more an opportunity. Like I didn't want know what to expect. Like we hear here in Canada, we hear a lot of the mining and the negatives and the positives. And but when I was moving to work in Dundee, I haven't heard a lot of negatives about mining at that time in my life. So I was quite positive. It's an operating site. The people are nice, like so it's it felt very natural.
And speaking of that, did you live in a mining town growing up, or were you more in a
No,
big
I
city?
lived
No,
in the
just nothing to do.
capital. Yeah,
Right.
I lived in the capital and like I was traveling to the Chelopech mine site. That's the privilege we had. The mine site is 1 hour and a half drive from the capital, so I was able to have both. And I've traveled to the mine sites like when you go to Kapan and etc. like to Armenia. Like I've been in village mining villages, but I haven't lived personally, permanently in them.
Great. And so I'm going to ask the audience if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A section because we're on my very last one before we move on to those questions. Um, so we've already spoken about any advice you have for people who want to move to a different country. What about advice you have for people who want to get into mining, who don't necessarily have that mining background, who are curious about it?
Uh, I think for me, mining is an industry which is offering a lot of opportunities. For me, we can't do it without mining. We talk about digital, we talk about technology, we need minerals. So being in mining gives you the opportunity to really create the environment and to create the mining industry you want. Like our company is extremely focused on safety, very responsible company, and this makes me proud of it because I know that we contribute to society. Mining operations are not in the middle of the city. So having a responsible mining operation in a small community and developing the community together with the operation is really supporting the overall society. It gives opportunity to the small cities and villages we operate in, and it brings new practices, new technologies to the country. So for me, working in mining, you have a lot of ability to contribute and to affect how the society develops. And being part of it, you see more. Like when I see a lot of things like how is it mining responsible, I know how much we do. I know how the decisions are taking into account safety first, people first. Of course, delivering value to the shareholders, that's one of the goals. However, the way you take decisions, the framework is driven by much more factors than just the dollar value. Generating value is a broader thing. So for me, mining is an exciting industry where a lot of changes are coming and it's interesting to be part of it.
Great, thank you. And we have a question that came up. So, having worked in the mining industry in both Bulgaria and Canada, what positive differences have you observed in how women are treated and supported in the workplace, or even negative ones if you have negative ones too? And what challenges still persist in each context that you believe need more attention?
So for me, woman in being working in mining in Bulgaria, like I didn't have the feeling that women are not treated equally as men. Like in there, it's in the society, the way we worked, like being a woman, being a man, it doesn't matter. It was like what work you do, how you do, and etc. There are some regulations about women working underground. So these regulations are like what they are, and I think with the company we're working to provide more information. But that's are some limitations. Otherwise, actually there like being a woman is like you sit in the table as a professional and it's I've never had challenges. I had challenges when I work with people from other countries, like some consultants, where I for the first time felt that like being a woman is like I should feel that I can't say the things I think, but not within the company. So I think I learned to overcome them by being professional. In our office, in like as I said, my experience is with Dundee, so it's hard to say like how is everywhere. You're treated based on the value you bring to the table, your competencies, your skills, the role you are in. So I've honestly saying I can't say that I felt that I wasn't treated equally and with the needed respect. So that's my experience, but it's different. I think it's working in a corporate environment and in an operations environment is different because at the operation environment the professions are different, and it's kind of like sometimes you see more men or more women in some areas, but it's like for me it's I haven't experienced challenges.
Great, thank you. It's actually great to hear. We have some more questions coming in. So we have, what do you miss most in terms of lifestyle? Something that you can't experience anywhere else but in Bulgaria? And have you had the chance to build strong friendships there or here?
So I miss Bulgaria, when you were grown up there, I miss the fact that your friends are there and your family. So, and I value much more the time when I go back there now, because when I go back there, like actually it's not a holiday. You meet people and you continue building your relationship. It's Bulgaria is like close to everything. Like we're in Europe, like 4 hours. For 4 hours, I can be in Greece, I can be at the Bulgarian seaside, I can be in Romania. Here, we all know for 4 hours from Toronto, I can barely go to Ottawa. So ultimately, I think the appreciations of the ability to move. What I miss also is mountains. We have great mountains. Like I see mountains all the time from the office, from where I was living. So that's one of the things I never realized that I miss until I came here. I think the nature is something what I miss. So yeah, it's I go there like more than once per year. So what I miss, I'm able to experience it again. But I miss some things, like you always miss. It's home. And about building strong relationships here, yes, I was fortunate to meet people, not only Bulgarians whom I'm connecting with, and I have people whom I can call friends, and I can rely on them. It's different. Like you need to give yourself time, like living at home, like you've created connections for years while you're starting to connect them from now. So that's for me the thing. Like yes, I'm building connections in a different way, but still I feel that I've done this.
If you ever miss the mountains, if Dundee opens up offices in Vancouver, you can
Yeah.
pop over to that one. And then we have another question from the audience. So, when you reflect on your 20 years in Canada, is there anything you would change in transitioning from Bulgaria to here?
I'm in Canada for 6 years. I'm with Dundee for 20 years, just I want to say this. So uh the advice I gave, don't rush the things. I had a plan and I had expectations and I had some of my disappointments. So now approaching the situations more with curiosity might have helped. But yeah, I think that's what. Otherwise, not much. Like I think things were good for me so far.
And we've sort of already touched on this topic, but there's another question about the biggest risk you've taken in your career so far. So, was there maybe instead a risk that you didn't take that you look back on and think that might have been a great opportunity?
I think the risk is like staying in your comfort zone. I've graduated finance. Before moving to Dundee, I was in finance. I was a financial manager doing that stuff. So moving to Dundee, it happens that I was supposed to step out of finance and working more with the operations. So it's a risk which I took, like, I don't know did I how consciously and how much I was assessing it, but I think it was a risk because now I even see it now in my profession. You ask me what are my qualifications. I've graduated finance. I have an MBA. I'm not a mining engineer. I don't have a CPA in Canada. So honestly saying, I think these are the risks which you take with your careers, like the direction you go, how conventional is your path or how not conventional is your path. And being not in the conventional finance or geology or technical services, it brings some risks to me because the value I bring is to driving transition, transformation, cross-functional collaboration. It's not a standard expectations like where you see your career to go. And this really like I feel that I'm very inspired by the value you see from the work you do, like driving systems work, engaging people in the change. But it's not like a profession or a certification which you get. So that's probably one of the risks now when you're asking me that, not staying in the conventional path and giving myself the chance to experience different things.
I think that's really valuable, especially for the younger people who might be watching, who are studying in university and trying to figure out what their career is. It might not be directly linked to what you studied, but I'm assuming, well, I would assume that your educational background still helps you in your career, right?
Yes, I think I also had conversations with young people. Is it worth to do university? Where to go? The university education gives you the ability, the college and university, to learn, to teach, to learn new things, gives you a lot of opportunities to see new things and see what you're good at. Because one is the technical knowledge, but the other is what type of work you like. If you like working with people and you decide to become a developer, probably it's you would know that that's not what gives you energy. And nowadays it's even harder because there's so many professions, so many opportunities. Even I get lost when I see the names of some of the positions. I wonder what people do. For me, the advice is like, give yourself a chance, try it. It may work for you. Even if it's not conventional, it may work for you. And a big thing is the organization you work with. Like, I think I'm a perfect example of how I was able to grow in the organization, which gave the opportunity uh, to itself to spot the talent and to develop people. And I was lucky to meet leaders and managers who were looking at me as the potential and gave me the opportunity. Of course, you work hard to deserve the next opportunity, but I was like lucky for me to have this.
Great. Oh, and one more question. As you look ahead in your career, what types of support, whether from mentors, organizations, or the industry at large, do you feel would be most valuable in helping you reach your next professional goals? You already mentioned you're not quite sure what's coming next in your career, but what kind of support would you like?
I think when you come to the leadership role, then you really need to expand your like networking. I think that's one of the things also like I had here, like when I was preparing, connecting with organizations like Women in Mining and seeing what's available. I think for me now being in Canada is to create connections and and understand how things work. So ultimately knowing what the other organizations do and etc. I think that's for me a great opportunity, and I'm trying to participate on the events because I know what I know, but I don't know what people know. One of the things also, like sometimes I'm asking myself like, is this the Canadian way or my way? Because some like the expectations, the way you present even yourself, it's shaped in different way than here. So ultimately, learning the Canadian way, seeing how things are understood, how the professions are posted, and how every organization is driving the work is something what I'm kind of like aware of. And mentoring, I have my informal mentors whom I'm asking for questions. So I'm fortunate to have a couple of people whom I'm reaching out for advice, help. Like they're an example for me how they grew and how they develop. So men and women both, but it's kind of I have that I'm reaching out to mentors, being part of the organizations like Women in Mining, these industry organizations, and all kind of events which are organized. That's what helps me to prepare for what's coming next and to be able to take the decisions I need to take.
Great, thank you. So I think that's it for all the questions we got from the audience. So before we finish off, do you have anything else you want to share with the audience about your journey so far?
Uh, no, there were a lot of questions, so I appreciate the questions from the audience. It's really interesting to see, to help people, like to see that it's people are interested. Thank you for the opportunity. Like for me, change is something good. And one of the things also, stress is not bad, like if it's with right quantities. So it's a little bit stressful when you move to anything new. Do you move to a new country? Do you move to a new job? Enjoy the stress. Give yourself a time to experience the change and see what's coming. This is how we grow and this is how we develop. So yeah, it's fine
Yeah, we have
to
we
be.
also got another question. All right. All right. I think this will be our last one before we actually close off. So if you could design your ideal next role in mining, what would it look like and what would you need to get there?
My next, like, I don't know what's the position, but my next row is really, and I have been thinking a lot about it. Like for me, systems leadership and system design is a big thing, is really being part of management where I support the organization and work with management to drive meaningful change in the system, focusing on bridging the technology we hear all about, but most importantly with the people. So my role is really like supporting, and the way I see it and what I'm looking for is really supporting to drive the change, the company to generate value by really combining and embracing the people, the values of the people supported by the technology. So that's working with cross-functional, broader scale is what kind of excites me and makes me to smile, as you can see, and putting, driving to continue put the efforts.
Great, thank you. So on that note, we are going to close out our webinar. So I want to say a big thank you to Anna for being here with us and sharing your experiences. Really great. You're a great speaker as well. So thank you very much for your time. And thank you to the audience for your great questions. As a reminder, this webinar is recorded, so we'll be posting it on our YouTube and we'll be sharing it with everybody next week. And we have our next speaker in our series tomorrow, Joe Congo. That one will be in French, but if you speak French, then we encourage you to join us tomorrow. So thank you again, Anna, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who joined. It's a new experience for me, so it was quite nice. Thank you, Melanie, for driving and facilitating. Have a great day to everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.